What's going on, guys? Joshua Gibson here with the Philosophical Weightlifting YouTube channel. Here is a video, one focused on developing the squat. So the thing about the squat is it has a very high correlation to weightlifting performance. Basically what that means is the higher your squat, the more likely it is your competition results will increase. So if your back squat goes up or your front squat goes up, it's highly likely that your snatch and your clean will also go up. Now, it's not a perfect correlation. We all know those people who squat a lot and still don't improve their competition lifts. But if you enhance the force producing machinery, it's more likely that you're going to be able to, one, drive the bar higher, and two, place the bar in the right spot, given that you're probably gonna have a larger window for error or a larger margin of error if you're stronger. Of course, this comes with a few caveats. One, that the squat is performed correctly and emphasizes the qualities that weightlifters need or want. The first thing being position. So you're training the same position, you're training it in a very repeatable way, and you're training it in a way that maximizes movement efficiency. So you're not moving forward and backward, you're not moving left to right, and you're not moving a different way every single time. Now, we understand that there's variability under load, especially maximal load, but that variability is somewhat small when considering the movement options available to a person performing a back squat or a front squat. With all of that being said, with the correct positioning and range of motion, the squat is a very powerful tool, given that it can develop force in very specific positions and that it can develop muscle size in very specific portions of the muscle, which are responsible for producing force and ultimately contributing to performance. This video is meant to ensure technique correctness and any potential transfer to weightlifting performance. Now I'll list out my favorite squat variations to improve technique and to help develop the fitness qualities and athletic qualities that are responsible for weightlifting performance. The first variation is a tempo squat with a tempo on the eccentric portion and the concentric portion. The concentric portion is the standing up or the shortening of the muscle. The eccentric portion is the descent or the stretching of the muscle. This variation allows the athlete to feel their legs stretching during the descent and to feel the correct positioning and to force them to hold the correct positioning on the ascent. When you're slowing down the concentric portion of the squat, you really require the athlete to feel the proper position. So any potential deviation forward or backward is magnified, and it's punished to some extent by increasing the demands of that position to further accelerate or keep the speed of the barbell. The next variation is a pin squat. This is somewhat similar to a tempo squat or a pause squat in the bottom. The only difference is you're actually resting on the pins. Now, you're not completely letting up and relaxing, but you are settling onto the pins, maintaining position, and then emphasizing the need for a correct push out of the bottom of the squat. This variation also develops a bit of starting strength because you're essentially decreasing the contribution of the stretch shortening cycle and requiring a lot more force to be produced from a dead stop. The next variation is another tempo lift, but this time we're including an isometric on the halfway up of the squat. So basically you're going to perform a squat as normal. As soon as you come out of the bottom, you try to stop and hold the position for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, but you're attempting to hold the position in the most difficult portion of the squat, around the sticking region, where force demands are greatly increased because of the moment arm at the knee and at the hip. There are a host of programming strategies, but the first thing to do is determine why you need these exercises in the first place. That means determining if they're needed for a physiological change, a psychological change, or a technical change. A physiological change meaning you're altering the size or another physiological property of the muscle. A technical change means that you're trying to change the movement efficiency that the lifter displays. A psychological change is making training more enjoyable, more fun. You're eliminating some of the monotony that's involved in the training as is. Once these boundaries have been established, you can fill in the details. I personally like using these variations as a low volume, high intensity option because using weights similar to your 1RM, at least in those variations, will ensure that you're having a greater transfer to the classical lifts. as opposed to just doing 40, 50, 60% for more reps, you're emphasizing the need to perform correctly under load. Although variations can be useful and help establish some sort of transfer to the classical lifts, there isn't necessarily increased transfer because the movement's done correctly in a different way. In fact, you could argue that using the classical lift and using a load that can be performed correctly and edged up over time will ensure the greatest transfer. Now, of course, we're dealing with individuals. Individuals need different things, but using the exact skill and making sure it's executed correctly and trying to stack those technical, physiological, psychological changes up over time can guarantee a greater return on investment. Now, these variations can be performed with the classical lifts with a load that can be executed correctly, and you're kind of getting a blend of the best of both worlds. You're getting the forced correctness of the variation, and you're getting the load that allows you to execute the movement correctly with the classical lift, so you're trying to maximize the transfer all around. Training is about emphasizing what you need in the moment, trying to sequence what you need over time to establish this string of wins, this string of momentum that carries you into a competition. Figuring out what works best for you is very useful. You can use these guidelines to experiment, but of course, harkening back to the idea that individuals need individual things, you can experiment and play around, establish what works, and then use that to guide future programming decisions. Hopefully that helps. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. Let me know what else you'd like to see, and we will catch you guys next time.